anyway, I see it's 3:02.
Yeah.
And I call the meeting of the Nantucket Cemetery Commission to order for February 10th. And declare we have a quorum present. As you know, Lee won't be able to join us today. He's over in Hyannis at a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, I forgot.
And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I declare we have a quorum present. And the, let me just get myself organized here. Okay, first item on our agenda is public comments and commissioner comments.
I have a quick comment. As you all can see, we have a guest today. Her name is Isabel.
Hi, everyone.
Rob is joining in right now as well. Isabel is our new S1 position at the DPW, and she will be your new DPW best friend. And I will be slowly handing the baton off to Isabel. So we just wanted to get her in here and introduce herself. She'll be leaving at 3:30, but she'll just be listening in for the beginning part of the meeting.
Okay. So Hannah, you won't be with us anymore?
I won't be with you for too much longer. I'll probably be here for the next few meetings, and then Isabel will be joining in.
She's not leaving DPW.
I'm not leaving the DPW, no.
Oh, good. Good.
I'll still be here, and of course, as always, if you need anything, I'll be here.
Great. Isabel, welcome to the Cemetery Commission.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Good. And you'll be the one who will send out the link to the meetings and all that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yep.
My favorite thing to do.
Glad to hear.
Okay.
So Rob, wait a minute. Rob, are you in Hawaii?
I am actually in Connecticut.
Looks wonderful.
Yeah, it's beautiful over here. People always think, Connecticut and it's only for the sunset. Yeah, I tell you, they're missing out.
I know the palm trees out there. It's incredible. Out on, particularly out on Smith's Point there.
Yeah, it's really blowing today.
Yeah.
Rob, I was given some of your honey for Christmas. It's very nice.
Well, look at that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's nice that people are actually giving it as gifts. That's pretty humbling. Nice.
Okay. Any other comments, commissioner comments or anything before we get underway with the agenda? Minutes. You have minutes from our January 13th meeting. And are there any corrections, omissions, anything like that? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes from January 13th.
I'll move to approve them.
Okay. Is there a
I will second them.
Barbara? Great. Let me write this down so we got for the minutes. Okay, Scotty.
I think we have to do a roll call vote, don't we?
Right, yes. So we have a motion and a second. I'll go down the roll. Scotty?
Aye.
Fran?
Aye.
Barbara?
Aye.
And chairman votes aye. So those minutes are approved. Before we get into the regular business of the agenda, under new business, we do have an approval of for a sale of a cemetery lot. This is lot number D14 in Pulpus Cemetery, and it's being purchased by Joseph Chmielowski.
That was a hard one. That was a hard last name.
Yeah, I know. He's the grandson of the people who used to maintain the cemetery. And they're buried in the old section of the cemetery. And so anyway, we were following the new procedure. Nicole had sorry, Hannah had sent him an application, a lot application, and he returned it. I got a copy of it, so I gave him a call, and we discussed. I discussed the regulations with him about the size of the stones and all that sort of thing, and he picked out the lot number D14, which of course is available. So so I would entertain a motion to approve the sale of that lot.
I'll move to approve it.
Okay, Scotty and Fran second. Great. Roll call, Scotty,
Aye.
Fran,
Aye.
Barbara,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. So that lot is officially sold. And according to our new procedures, he will send a check into Hannah. And once we receive the check, then Hannah we'll send out the form for the lot.
I have a question.
Yes.
We had a draft of the procedure and there was one thing that needed to be corrected where I think it said administration where it should have said commission or something like that. Is that now available if somebody wants to know what it is, or do people seeking information need to directly contact the DPW?
Hannah?
I don't think it's on the website, and was there, I know some of the verbiage that you had put into it did include DPW administration. So I don't know, because we didn't want to use my name or anyone or any name specific for this
I
case.
just remember where it should have said cemetery commission, it said cemetery administration, I think. Anyway, I just wanted to know if
It says cemetery
that is
administrator.
available. I'm sorry?
Oh, cemetery administrator,
It
okay. Yeah.
says in the first paragraph, second paragraph, it says contact the cemetery administrator to request the proper form.
So that, yeah, that should be the DPW administrator.
Okay,
So we can get that changed. It is
Okay.
not on the website. So the first rule of contact right now is still just to call the DPW.
I think also, Hannah, in the third paragraph, it says you will need to request a monument approval application from the administrator.
Okay,
And
Alan, we can
Poss-
take a look at that.
possibly in the fourth paragraph too. So yeah, it just needs to be gone through.
Okay, Alan, we can take a look at that later this week.
Oh, okay. I did make some corrections that I think were attached to the minutes from, anyway, we will take care of that and get it up on the website. I did send to Mr. Chmielewski the copy that I had on file as far as the procedures and so on, so he would have a copy of that. But yeah, we'll get that up on the website. And
so our current lot charges is still,
900.
900.
my niece and her husband are thinking about this, and I told them they shouldn't think too long. They should contact and make a decision pretty quickly.
Right. One item number 6 on our agenda is sort of the lot sales.
Okay.
And so far we've sold, or we have 39 lots left available. And as we've discussed, and we'll discuss further that when we get to that item, but we do want to lay out some additional lots there. So, okay, so that's taken care of. So the plan for the cemetery survey, as you know, this has been our long-term project. We do have, I believe it's over 100, maybe around $120,000 in a CPA grant that was acquired some time ago. I think it was at least 10 or 12 years ago. The last time we checked it, it was still, that money was still available. And it's specifically for monument restoration and cemetery improvement. So Scotty had gotten contacted three different survey companies. Now, remember, when we're talking about a survey, we're talking about not just not laying out the bounds, which is another item that we want to do, but to go through, take a look at the monuments in each of the cemeteries, determine the condition of the monuments, and then to the next step is, once we have the survey of the monuments, is to go through and actually repair the monuments that need a reparation. So Scotty has contacted three different vendors to do this. That's the information that Scotty sent out. I sent out a copy of it again this morning with the agenda and so on.
It's really great. Thank you, Scott. That's terrific.
Really good.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
can't claim all the credit. My little assistant Sarah did a lot of the work, but I led her in the right direction.
Excellent. Well,
All right. So,
I'm sorry.
so she came up with a lot of good information and followed up, and I think that the most responsive guy is the one that I'd recommended in my email, Irving Slavid from Monument Conservation Collaborative. He seems to have his act together the best, and has already come up with a number to do an assessment, initial assessment, or a complete assessment. And based on what was done at Prospect Hill, with all the records and the paperwork that you're given, and how they map it all out, it would be my recommendation to go with his second proposal, which is the condition assessment, which is for the $20,000 rather than the initial come out and see what's going on, initial evaluation, because we would have to get him to come back again to do the assessment. And I know Prospect Hill was about 33,000. And I think for 22, I don't have my finger on that number. For $22,000, I think it is 22,800. You
Correct.
get all 5 cemeteries. I think that's a pretty good number.
So
Based on, compared to Prospect.
Right. Oh, Rob?
Sure. So first off, I want to apologize to Scotty. I know we had these discussions quite a while ago, at least a year ago, about how to go about this. We did come up with a couple different contacts of people who to speak with that have done this work customarily. We never circled back to talk about the procurement process. And when I saw the documents getting thrown around this week, it prompted me to, I reached out and talked to the procurement officer, Brian at Finance, to discuss this. And the bottom line is, the work isn't wasted, but what we need to do is we need to strictly follow the process so that the procurements are uniform and checked through the procurement office, so that when we do, as a commission, when you do make a recommendation, that we can then follow through with an actual contract. Ultimately, this will have to go to the select board for consideration on their regular consideration for contracts, and then we should be able to move forward. There's a couple real benefits to the way that this is intended to be funding, specific to the stone condition assessment or the survey, is the cost is between $10,000 to $50,000. So the requirements are simply a written scope of work, which sounds like is similar to what Scotty had already done. So I don't think we're going to lose a lot of time there. It's really just about presenting the scope. We can review it again as you had presented it to these different people, and making sure that we do an outreach that's formal, and that could be something as simple as email, that we document it and ultimately present it to the procurement office to say, we have done this procurement, these are the results, and here's the commission's recommendation. It's very similar to what has happened. It's just because they have not been involved, they basically threw up the red flag and they're like, hey, we need to see all of this before any decisions get made. And we may have to repeat it. We may have to repeat the process to make sure that we follow it properly. The good news is, because it's grant funded, the procurement, we can choose to go virtually any route. This is just following best business practice by doing the written scope of work and following the quotes.
I think that I think all along I kind of knew that there was going to be that. I just kind of wanted to do a little background work just to get some names and someone who we should just approach for procurement under those
Sure.
procedures. I'm sure they understand that they're going to be contacted formally by the people that are going to do it rather than my assistant, Sarah. And so I would say, I mean, it's not something we need to get like 3 different company bids, is it? Is this like, if we're happy with the company, we could start with them and go through the procurement procedure with them?
So we do need no fewer than 3 from people that customarily do the work.
Okay.
And it sounds like from your email, and I know we've had the same challenge right along, is finding 3 it can be challenging. There's just not a lot of people doing this kind of work out there. But I think the fact that you've gone as far as you have so far, Scotty, we can bring the rest of this across the finish line.
Did we have to get 3 people when we did the ground penetrating radar? Like, would the DPW would have done that?
What we did there was that was actually considered engineering services,
Okay.
which is exempt from procurement. So we don't have to follow the same strict guidelines. I will reread the exemptions to see if there's an exemption that would apply to this. Particularly, the thing is, you have to try to find 3. If you can't get 3, I think the procurement office has the ability to say, we've sent it out to 3 and we've heard back. Or even if you hear back from, if they don't respond, they're just considered non-responsive.
But Scotty, you did 3, right?
Yeah, we have 3. So, and they all do respond. Just one guy's better than the others.
Yeah.
And like, he's not ready to come here next week and do it. He's said, it'll have to thaw out and we could do it at the
Sure.
appropriate time. But so I just think whoever wins.
Yeah.
But at least we have 3 names lined up to start the procurement process.
Sure.
Who takes it from here, Rob?
I'll reach out to Scotty after this and we can collect what he's already got. I can run it past procurement and make sure that we're on the right track.
Okay, well, we, as I said, we do have 3 different companies that do this work, and Scotty, we received the estimate from Monument Conservation Collaborative, the MCC one. The other 2 we don't have a price or anything from them yet. But we have reached out to 3 different agencies that do the work. Okay.
Alan, sorry. I just think from this research, we've got 3 names and we have kind of an idea what it's going to cost.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And I think that that's a good start because, we didn't know that info before.
Right.
And we should just go through the right channels in order to engage these people.
Exactly.
And from there, I think that it's kind of exciting what can happen. Like, they quantify everything that needs to be done, which is what Rob had suggested a year or so ago, so that you now know exactly what needs to be done. It's mapped out. It's in a report. each of these companies is capable of even coming and doing the work, and they can give a price for that as well.
Right.
But that's just something to consider at a later stage once the assessments are done. But that's just all I kind of concluded.
So the good news about that too is, as Scott and I have discussed, is once the survey is done and you have not just the quantity of work, but the intensity, because there's sort of different levels.
Mhm.
Some just need to be cleaned, some need to be completely, really reconstructed that are broken and such. But that can really translate to a cost estimate. And we can match that up against what we currently have for CPC funding and
Mhm.
potentially ask for more if we needed some kind of a supplement to achieve all of the work. Or we could start to take it on and start to do cemetery by cemetery and see how far the money takes us. But yeah, it's exciting. This is some real progress.
Exactly. Yeah. So Rob, what's the best way forward? Should we take a vote on something now, or is it too soon to do
Yeah.
a vote?
I think it's too soon. What I'll do is I'll meet with Scott after this. Even we can just do it over the phone. We could talk about, I'll get all the information from him, run it past Brian and see how we proceed from there. And then I can report back to the Cemetery Commission next time. And hopefully by then I might even be able to, start the process
Excellent.
to come to a fruition. So I meet with that office every Thursday. So we'll be meeting tomorrow, and I'll bring it up with them then. We can figure out what's necessary and start the procurement officially.
Excellent. Great.
Yeah, there's advertising requirements and that sort of thing. It's got to go into the combis, such a register to make sure that basically anyone who does this work has the opportunity to know about it and bid on it.
Good. Okay, well, it sounds like we have the start of for this project. So
It's the end of the beginning.
yeah, exactly. So Scotty and Rob will get together after this meeting and we'll get the ball rolling. I'll put it on next month's agenda then for our meeting in, say, February, March, for our March meeting. And we'll take it from there. This is really exciting. When I read through the information here, the proposals, as I say, we've been talking about this for years, and to get this underway, I think this is probably the biggest project that we've taken on since getting the boulders, the glacial erratics for each of the cemeteries, and the work that we've done in the cemeteries, plus getting Pulpus underway. So this will be a major project once we get this underway. And I did get an email from Libby Gibson, the town manager, 2 months ago, inquiring about the status of the stones in the various cemeteries. So once we have some things to relay, then we'll convey that information. Okay. Yes, Fran?
I think we were going to discuss prioritizing as well, and Scotty had some thought about perhaps the Quaker Cemetery shouldn't be on the top of the list because some of the other cemeteries might be more in need of assessment.
Right.
Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, I figure now that with the procurement process, we have time as a commission to consider for a later vote what our priorities might be, which ones should be assessed first, or just so which ones should be assessed first, or in what order we would have them done, just so that we're prepared when the time comes to let the people know who are chosen to do it.
Right,
But
exactly.
I don't think we need to figure that out today.
Exactly. When we did set a priority, when we started this project a while ago, we chose the Quaker Cemetery because we thought it would be the easiest one to do. There are the fewest stones and, you know, that sort of thing. But given the information that we have now, we have a price to do a survey in all 5 of the cemeteries where there are stones or monuments. I think that once that work is completed, once we have the survey done of all of the 5 cemeteries, then we can prioritize based on based on the money that we have left to do it, or maybe we can just sign a contract to do all 5 cemeteries. Wouldn't that be a nice way to go? So,
Yeah.
um,
It'll also give us time to figure out a little bit of PR and that kind of stuff,
exactly.
which will, that would be nice.
Right.
So
Right.
that people know what's happening.
Exactly. Well, good. This is exciting. I'm, as you know, I tend to be project oriented and different in getting the work of the committee going forward. So this would be great to get this one underway. The other projects, of course, we have are mostly work within the cemeteries, and those are the work orders and so on, as far as clearing brush and that sort of thing. So,
All right, before we move on, it is rounding up to 3:30, so I just want to have us have an opportunity to say goodbye to Isabel. She'll be jumping off in just a few minutes. So
Thank you all for letting me listen in. And it was nice
No
meeting you
problem.
all.
you're more than welcome. And anytime you have any questions, Nicole has my phone number. Don't hesitate to. I'm sorry, Hannah. I keep getting them backwards. I apologize, Sarah. Sarah, jeez.
Need me to step in and translate?
you can call, you can say whatever you want.
It's
Oh.
been one of those mornings where, all of a sudden I'm looking at all the things that I need to do, and I've been sort of jumping around all day. So I
No worries.
apologize. Now, Isabel, welcome.
Thank
And
you so much.
great. Good. Well, it'll be good to work with you. So,
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
all right.
Thank
bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see, we've approved cemetery law. Okay, is there anything else on the monument issue? Seeing none, let's go on to the bench and tree at Maya Comet Burial Ground. Hannah, did you find any information about the, how the bench got there?
So I did not yet. I spoke to Rob briefly about it, and he advised me to reach out to Nikki Duarte, who is a part of our crew. It seems that it's it's been there for quite some time. So I'm gonna have to reach out to him. He's one of the foremen who has been with us for quite some time, because I didn't get anything back from Katie that she had. And this tree plaque looks different than what we typically use now.
All right,
So
all right. Okay, the tree isn't so much of an issue. The fact that the bench was set directly in front of the stone saying Maya Comet. Now, there is another issue here, as Lee pointed out at our last meeting. There's some question as to whether, who owns the land where the rock is. Now, there is an entrance to the cemetery. That's where that big gate is, and I guess that's where the mowers and things go in. That's why the stone was placed there, because it was on Surfside Road by what we assumed was cemetery property. In looking at the town GIS maps, Lee determined that was Sachem's Path, no, was that, yeah, Sachem's Path
Sachem's Path, yeah.
on the corner or there. Um, So I took a look at the GIS map and it's unclear as to who the ownership, whether the town still owns that land. Um, The other question is the roadway, how, I believe that Surfside Road at that point is a 50-foot way. So, that would be a consideration. There's a bike path over there. But anyway, what we need to do there is to find out where we can move the bench, because the bench, as I say, is directly in front of the boulder marking the cemetery. I think it's got to be within the last year and a half or 2 years at most that bench has been there, because I remember photographing the stone several times. I did it once for a friend's book, and then another set of photos that I did for it. And there certainly wasn't a bench in front of it at that point. And I think the most recent one was maybe 2 years ago.
Lee Topham did some looking into this, and I sent that information. So you
Yeah.
have that. So you
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
does it include a year?
no, I didn't see a year on it. The only thing that had a year on it was that plaque in front of the tree, which says 2018.
Right, right.
You see, Lee actually suggested creating a different entry to the cemetery, but I think that would be very offensive to the Wampanoag elders if we messed around with it.
Right. There is another entrance as you go in Benjamin Drive, but remember that whole area, as the town was going to develop that area, and this was maybe 15 or 20 years ago, I don't know, quite a while ago. They had to do some survey work, and they sent the archaeologists down, and they did find burial remains, and they determined that in fact was the site of from the die-off. Is that correct, Fran?
That's right. And more recently, remains have been brought here and interred. Remains, I think, that were returned under NAGPRA. So Catherine Stover and I were witnesses when Wampanoag elders brought more remains and interred them in the cemetery.
Right.
So, in a sense, it's an active cemetery, because the Wampanoag elders from Mashpee and Aquinnah have recently interred remains there,
Exactly.
old ones from museums. So their interest is ongoing, and I think we have to be extremely careful. And we also need to move the bench before the elders find out about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have pictures. The tree, it says, was done in 2018, but there's no date on the bench.
Right. Yeah, I looked for something also on there, and when I was trying to figure out if we could just move it, but
We need to
we
find
can't.
we need to find a place that it can be relocated to. It can't
Exactly.
stay there. And we need to do it pretty expeditiously before it becomes an issue.
Right, exactly. Well, I think one of the questions that Lee raised is who owns that piece of property. When you look at the GIS map, it does show that the parcel that's Sachem's Path is on, it outlines that whole parcel for that, although Sachem's Path does not, there's a there's a good bit of undeveloped land beyond that. Yes, Rob?
So just curious, I hate to come in kind of the 11th hour here. And I'm curious, was this Was this something that a commissioner noticed, or did this come in from the public?
I got a complaint from the public at Thanksgiving, and they wanted me to assist them in writing an angry letter to the paper. And I said, no, don't do that. Let the cemetery commission investigate this and handle it. So
So
I wanted to keep the complaint non-public.
So I can understand it fully. We're basically talking about the bench is in front of the stone. That's the
So they
situation.
were upset because of the bench in front of the stone, and also that a tree had been recently planted with a plaque, because neither the bench nor the tree memorializes anybody Wampanoag.
Okay. Well,
They're just
so
people-
recently it's been at least 5 years. I know the tree and the plaque were planted at least 5 years ago.
No, it says 2018.
2018, okay. Seems like 5 years. So I don't know the date of the bench, but the bench certainly could be relocated. And I don't know how that site was chosen, but clearly it's in front of a stone that has, sort of the entrance and title block to the cemetery itself. So I can work with the town manager's office to get a better sense of where the property lines are, and we can just slide the bench to an appropriate location that's still within the town's right of way.
Exactly. Good.
Don't just move it over, find someplace else on the bike path for it, because otherwise it's still going to be a bone of contention.
Well, the drinking fountain is just down the bike path a little ways. And so, I'm sure there are plenty of spaces. But how it got put in front of the stone is,
That's a mystery. I wish we knew.
yeah, I know. It's, well,
It got approved by somebody, I would think.
well,
So, for that, I would just say, Hannah, if you could in the notes, just put a couple action items there to have DPW contact Ken Bogrand to make a determination of the property lines in that area.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I did reach out to Katie with town administration. Katie,
Yep.
I couldn't, and neither one of us could find anything for it.
For the bench?
Yeah, so we typically have every bench and tree and every installation that we put in. We have a space, so we save all those applications, and I don't have anything saved from that far back.
Okay.
Well, that includes that bench, so I don't have anything saved
Hmm.
that notes it was ever approved. I'm
Oh,
not saying it wasn't, but
Town has put the bench in. Do you think that someone could have just put it in?
Not likely, but anything can happen.
yeah, it is. It is anchored into the ground somehow, because I tried to lift, see if I could lift it up and so on, and
Yeah.
realized that, however it was in there. I was going to take my car jack and see if I could get it up, but I thought better we find out what the story is before we do anything like that. So, okay, great. So Rob and Hannah, you follow up on that and see what we can do and see where we can move that bench.
I'll drop my email to Ken right now.
Good.
I have a question for Scotty. We talked about painting the lettering on the stone that says Maya Comet Indian Burial.
Yes.
To paint it with, I think we're going to paint it with white
White.
laminate paint.
Yep.
Are we making any progress on doing that?
That is on the list to do. We're just waiting for an appropriate time that we can get out and do it.
So if
but it's
anybody
not
asks-
forgotten. It's not
If
forgotten.
anybody asks me, I can say it's going to be done.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's underway. It's underway. Yeah, that will do it. The issue there, of course, is that the engraving was just into the stone itself. When I went to photograph it for Fran's book,
Very
it was,
difficult.
yeah, well, I took some chalk. I took some white chalk dust and filled the lettering in with chalk dust, figuring that was, that would wash out. So I wasn't doing any permanent defacing of the stone, so that in fact we could read the lettering on the stone for the photograph. That was some time ago.
It was a little while ago.
Yeah. So,
All
all right, well,
The
good.
thing about the stone is nobody is in favor of replacing it with a different stone and different engraving because it's so intimately connected with Augie Ramos, and apparently it wasn't done with a stencil. It was actually inscribed letter by letter. And so it has a lot of value in itself.
Right.
It's not just a sign.
And as I recall, the dedication, we had the chief of the Wampanoag come over from the Cape or from the vineyard.
I think you had people from both Aquina on the vineyard and
Right.
Mashpee on the Cape. Yeah.
That was at the dedication of the stone. Of all the 9 cemeteries, the cemetery commission installed the glacial erratics in the other 8 cemeteries. And Augie had donated that stone, and actually Augie did the engraving on that stone as well for the Maya comet. And there was an official dedication with Wampanoag leaders from the mainland or from the vineyard that came over.
And I think also the Massachusetts Commissioner for Indian Affairs, John Peters, was part of that as well.
Right. It was quite a ceremony, as I read about it. So anyway.
So we have to take good care of it.
Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else on that item, the bench and the tree? Okay, we didn't discuss the tree really. The tree, I don't think, I think the tree is okay. I'm not so sure the plaque, it wasn't really a plaque. It was a
Piece of
piece of plastic, piece of plastic with, some, the dedication on it for somebody who loved Nantucket or who loved to walk the bike path there. I forgot what the dedication was.
Yeah, I can tell you what it says. It says,
Inspiration of Wendy Nicholson Bailey.
Right.
yeah,
And the plaque had been torn off of there was a sort of a wooden stanchion that it was put on, and the plaque was on the ground. I did retrieve the plaque. It's probably still in the trunk of my car. So, we'll deal with that once we get the bench dealt with. So, okay, is there anything else on that item? Good. Quay's Monument. I finally got through to Cormac Collier at the Conservation Foundation. I sent him photographs of the signs, the historic cemetery sign and the sign that simply says cemetery. I took a picture of the one as you go down to the historic colored cemetery. As you go down before you make that turn, there's one there. Carmack was reluctant to have the bigger historic cemetery sign out on the roadway because he felt that what that would do is drive more traffic up, and they would, miss the smaller sign at the parking area right as you go in and end up at Altar Rock and so on. His request was, could we do the smaller sign simply saying cemetery in the roadway? And then he said it would be fine to do the, in that first parking lot there, again, a cemetery sign with the arrow pointing to the walkway to get to the cemetery. I did point out to him that the roadway is not under his control, but it is under control of the DPW. But I think he has a valid point there. If we put historic cemetery, a larger sign there. So anyway, we do have permission to put the smaller sign that says cemetery. And I spoke with Hannah the other day, and she said she could have Ray, put in a work order for Ray to, create one of those signs and put it on foundation property in that first or second parking lot. We could put it in either one of those parking lots, directing people to park there and get to it. Yes, Fran?
Well, ever since we dedicated the Clay's Asylum burial ground, I've had countless requests from people saying they can't find it. And they want to know how to get to it. And so it's not enough that we have a boulder there that identifies it. We have to show people how to get to it. And a little sign simply saying cemetery, I think, is inadequate. Our principle was wherever a cemetery is not visible from a traveled roadway, we would put a historic cemetery sign, not telling which cemetery it is, but a sign saying historic cemetery, so that people know there's one in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I really think we should stick to that. We have one for the Founders Burial Ground. We have one for the Historic College Cemetery. And I think to be consistent, since you can't see the Quay's Burial Ground from any road,
Right.
we really should on town property put a historic cemetery sign. Otherwise, people are going to continue to complain that they don't know where it is and they can't find it.
Right. And as I say, the foundation doesn't have any, the town can put whatever signs they want in the roadway because that is clearly in the roadway. In fact, it's between the road and the bike path. So we know it's in the roadway there.
His concern was that if we put a sign there, it would do what?
It would direct traffic up Alter Rock Road.
Yeah.
And that if they went in Alter Rock, Alter Rock Road, that they might miss the fact that there are two parking areas as you go in on the left-hand side as you go in, that they might miss that sign and end up at Alter Rock. Yes, Barbara?
I often go out there. It's one of my walks. I think the key is putting an adequate sign at the parking lot. Not, the road, I agree with Fran, we should stick to how we've been consistent, but
Mhm.
what size sign are we thinking of putting at the parking lot? And where? I mean, if I'm driving up that road and it's in the parking lot, where is it going to be to catch my eye? Is it going to be, I would think it should be towards Alter Rock Road,
I also
that
think if we are
you
going
can
to
see
put
it.
it in the parking lot, it should clearly say historic cemetery and not
Oh, I
just
see.
cemetery.
Right.
I agree.
Okay. I guess the thing, all right. As you go in Alter Rock Road, there are two parking lots. There is a path from each of those two small parking lots, and those are pretty much immediately as you go in, the first one, and then about another 100 yards down the road is another one. And there's a path from both of those parking lots that goes back and curves around up to the cemetery. Okay. Let me contact Cormac again and tell him what we would like to do. And I think the size of the sign was his main, the bigger one, the historic cemetery.
Alan,
Yes,
I think
Barbara.
driving down Pulpus Road, you're going 35, 40 miles an hour. I think the
Mhm.
sign has to be big enough that you see it before you're
Right.
past it.
Yeah.
Now, once you go up Alter Rock Road, which isn't exactly You're not going more than 10 or 15 miles an hour.
Exactly,
The
right.
sign to the cemetery doesn't need to be very large, but
Right.
it does need to be able to catch your eye so that, you see it before you're past it. I think
Right.
we can
Well-
be very flexible with the size of the cemetery sign in the
Mhm.
parking lot, historic cemetery, as long as it's big enough for somebody not bombing down the road to see
Mhm.
it. But I think that the bigger sign on the road, I mean, I frequently go past Alter Rock Road myself before I go, oh no, I missed it again.
Mhm.
So I think the
Okay.
sign is important.
Right. Well, as I say, the town can put whatever sign they want to put out on the road because it is in the roadway. And the sign, once you get into the parking lot, as I say, the one I was thinking of, we have two smaller signs. The one is you go to the historic colored cemetery. Once you go in North Mill Street, you go down the hill, make that curve to the right where the old road used to go out to Vesper Lane. There's a sign that's maybe 12 inches long and it simply says cemetery. The sign is in the shape of an arrow and it points, in the direction. So that's the sign in the parking lot. Okay. So that would be a visible sign because it's fairly large. It's about at least a foot or maybe even a little larger than that. And it is visible. You can't go very fast once you pull into Alter Rock Road because it's pretty lumpy anyway. So I think that would be, that would be fine in the parking lot. And that's, again, Cormac has already said that would be fine. I'll speak with him again and tell him our concern about, we want to put the larger historic cemetery sign as we have done at Historic Colored Cemetery and at Founders Burial Ground. We do have a smaller sign as you go in Founders Burial Ground when you go up the hill on Land Bank property and where you make that left, there's I think about a 4-inch square sign.
That wouldn't be helpful in the parking lot. It might be helpful when you go out the back of the parking lot onto the path,
mhm.
but it really wouldn't serve to tell people turn in and park here to get to the cemetery because they'd never see it.
Right, I
Right.
think it needs to be, if you think of the parking lot as a U, it really needs to be on the far side of the U. So as you're driving, you see it coming
Oh,
up.
exactly.
That's, I think, where it should be. And I do agree with Fran that maybe it should say historic cemetery. So it might be a little bit bigger than a foot, Alan, to get the whole
Mhm.
word, all the letters on. But I
Correct.
don't think we should have to, I don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I think we can go ahead and put the sign up on the DPW jurisdiction without informing Cormac particularly, but tell him that, ask him if
Mhm.
we can put the historic cemetery with an arrow,
Yeah, well,
indicating the parking lot. I don't think we should even mention that we are disagreeing with him about the other one. Just go ahead and do it. That's my feeling about it.
Okay, he did approve the cemetery sign in the parking lot. And again, the path is very distinct once you pull into either of those parking areas.
Oh, it's very
Um,
obvious.
You
Yeah,
just need to know to pull into the parking area. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Well, that's the reason why, when I was citing it, when I was out there, I took pictures of the parking area to see where the sign could go. And I thought right behind the split rail fence, because it would have the sign would be pointing to the path. So I think that would, that would do it. All right, well, I'll contact Cormac again and tell him that we want to go ahead and do that sign in the parking area. And
How about a sign in each of the two parking areas?
I'm sorry? Each?
A sign in each of the two parking areas. So whichever one people park in, they see the path because there are two paths that converge. There are 2 parking areas. Each one has a path that leaves it. So in each of the parking areas, there should be a sign pointing to the path.
All right, well, let me put that out there. I really think that simply having a sign in that first one, would catch people's attention. If they're turning in, looking for the cemetery, they would look at that first parking lot and they would say, oh, they would see the cemetery sign and pull into that one and so on. All right, well, I'll contact Cormac again and let him know that we want to put historic cemetery out on the roadway. And then in the parking area, and I'll broach the subject of putting one in each of the parking areas, but I think the consideration is the foundation is loath to put signs out. Even on the trails, you notice that they've finally been using those little squares, the 3-inch squares with an arrow and so on, like the land bank has been using. And even that was a bit of a challenge for them to do that. But all right, so I'll meet with Cormac and I'll report back at our next meeting what we're going to do for that signage there. Okay. Anything else on that issue?
Please,
Oh,
monument.
the stone.
All right, just going to tell you, the headstone is made, the base is made, the letters are plucked out of the stencil, and the weather was 40 degrees, perfect. And then now it started to snow. So we're all but ready and finished. So we're very close to having it.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful. Well, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. And I did, I asked Cormac about getting the stone back to the cemetery. When we put the stone, the Pulpus Cemetery, I'm sorry, Pulpus, the Quasis Island Burial Ground, Glacial Erratic in the cemetery, I was there. And it was a bit of a challenge because, to get it over the fence.
It'll be all right. We will figure it out. He doesn't need to worry. Yeah.
Okay, great.
The price includes it installed, so you don't even need to
Great.
worry about how it gets there.
It is there. There is another path on the off the bike path where the foundation's monument is, and I'm not sure how much space there is. You might be able to get something in there because the cemetery does sit back quite a ways. So good. All right, I'll follow up on that then, and once I speak with Cormac, what I'll do is I'll email everyone on the commission here as to what, so we can see about getting the sign in place after, once we get the stone in there. And then what we'll do is set a time to do some sort of a dedication or a rededication of the cemetery itself. So good. Good. Well, that'll be exciting. That's another one of these projects been sort of hanging around for a long time. Anything else on that item? The next item is cemetery lot sales. Through 2020, we have 39 lots available in Pulpus Cemetery. As you know, Pulpus is the only cemetery we have known space in. Once the town does the survey of the lots at Newtown and combines those 4 lots, then we can go in and do ground penetrating radar in the newly cleared areas to put in some full-size lots at Newtown Cemetery. So, so until then, the next step is to think about laying out lots, additional lots at Pulpus. I've gone on the assumption that the whatever transaction with the Hicks is pretty much off the table at this point. So the next step is to have Mo go in. Remember, Mo was already in there. He marked the trees to take down. This was before the pandemic started. And so the next step is when Mo has the time to go in there and do some clearing. Yes, Rob?
Yeah, and just an update. So we are making progress on Pulpus Road with the split rail replacement. When we make it, we're around the corner from Pulpus Cemetery. When we make it to Pulpus Cemetery, the plan is to execute the
Right.
previously discussed brush clearing and split rail modifications that we talked about. So that should be happening soon.
Excellent. Good.
Weather dependent. Also, I need to get off and go on to another meeting at 4.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
helps.
I will catch up with you, Scotty, and
Yep.
I will circle back with you, Hannah. Thank you.
Bye,
Great.
Rob.
Okay, so on that item, once we get the brush cleared in Pulpus, then the next step would be to go back in and lay out some lots. I did speak with Mark at the water company to see if they are still willing to go in and assist us with laying out additional lots in Pulpus Cemetery. We will need to order once we get that done, we'll need to order some new corner markers and also the toe markers to go in there. So, so I think that's it for Pulpus. Anything else on Pulpus Cemetery? No. Okay, Mo is done there. Sort of College Cemetery. Work orders. We had talked about work orders for historic Colored Cemetery, putting the split rail fence along the boundary facing Vesper Lane, and then replacing the broken sections, or however we're going to do that for some of the other ones, but putting that section of fence in, clearing the brush, putting that fence in there, and doing some other brush clearing. That's yeah. Oh, and it was pointed out, someone pointed out to me, I think it was Scotty, you pointed out to me, on Google Maps, if you go to Google Maps, it doesn't show the town cemeteries
Or names correctly. That's right. I remember.
Yep.
But if you're searching for the town cemeteries in Google,
Mhm.
they don't come up. And so I think, like in Google Maps, I think that Old North comes up, but they call that New North, or they call that, I don't even remember, but each of the 5 cemeteries is not identified on Google. And we should come up with some kind of plan to get somebody at the town or whatever to the computer person.
Right,
to,
yeah, we have, the town
Yeah.
has the whole GIS department, and there ought to be somebody in the GIS department that knows how to do that. So,
Yeah, 'cause I just found that out as a side thing from getting the cemeteries that we wanted to survey.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
the
that might be
company.
a Florencia Rulo project. She works in the town administration office downtown, so we can see if that would be something she can do. I'm not sure. she does all our website updates. So
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah, we need a tech person on it because you have to, like when we did Amanda's store and there was no like Google information for that, you can claim that space. And I imagine
Yeah.
the town can claim it and then
Yep,
they
yep.
verify it and then that you can add the name. So I think we need to do that.
I
Good,
just
yeah.
quickly looked while you were talking and it did have Founder's Cemetery.
Oh,
Yes,
that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
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 But not Pulpus. Yeah, good.
No.
That's great. Great work, Scott.
Thanks for reminding me, Alan. I forgot about that.
Yeah, good. All right, so Hannah, you'll contact whoever it is in the town to see if they can get the cemetery names in the proper places.
Yes.
Good. Okay, is there anything else to come before the commission this afternoon? Seeing none.
Actually, just before you sign off, I think that the research that I did about the monuments restoration, I think that everything came to this point where we at least have now 3 names to
Yes,
get to Rob to go through the correct process on engaging them. And it's a long way off from where we were, not really having anybody.
exactly.
And I think, Scott, if you had not done that work, it wouldn't have moved this far because I think this brought it right to Rob's attention. I
And
think
also
that was
Rob didn't need to do
excellent.
the legwork because with
Yeah.
COVID and everyone, how busy everyone is, it's just
Yeah.
something that was manageable. And
Yeah.
now we're within the framework of the DPW making it happen. So
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
think it
I'm
was
confident
good
that
job.
exactly what we want.
Good
So it's
work.
quite a big step for us.
Yeah. No, it is. So, as I say, we've been talking about this for years.
Yeah.
So this would be great. I can't wait to get that underway. Okay, anything else to come before the commission this afternoon? Seeing none, I declare we are at the end of our agenda and the meeting is adjourned. Great. Thank you very much.
See ya.
And great. Oh, and Hannah, Lee, when he gets back, is going to want to look at the recording. I assume that he
Yeah,
can
I sent him, Florencia is the same person he needs to contact, so I sent him her email address. So
Excellent.
we should have that and be all set. And I also took notes if he has any questions.
Oh, good, good. Good. I have a few notes, but they're all scattered all over the place. So excellent. All right. Well,
Everyone have a wonderful afternoon.
We'll
you
miss you,
too.
Hannah.
Oh, I'll
Great.
be at the next meeting, but maybe not the one after that, but I'll miss you guys as well.
Well, we'll miss you. Goodness. Finally,
It's been
after
a pleasure, really. It's been a great learning experience. So
Have they given you, have they upgraded your position at the DPW?
yes, so I was the S1 position and now I have moved up to the S2. So I am up doing more accounts payable and all that. So
Right.
I have, since we lost our S2 previously, I've been doing both the Cemetery Commission and the Tree Advisory Committee, which I do Lee's job for the Tree Advisory Committee with the minutes and the agenda. So this is a little bit, this will be nice for Isabel to kind of take over and get to know you all and add on to her learning. So
Great. Well, show her where all the records are and how to keep all the stuff so that,
I'll show her everything. I feel like we've made a lot of organizational progress. So she should be in really great standing.
great.
Well, we're happy for you, Hannah. And when we start meeting again in person at the DPW, I hope I'll see your face.
I'll be right there
Excellent.
waiting for you.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much. And,
Absolutely. Have a great night, everyone.
you too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.